Today I'd like to talk to you about the basic types of woodworking bench planes that anybody should have. At The Best Things, I often get phone calls from people who want to get away from using power tools and ask me, well, what planes should I buy? Well, really there's three basic types of planes that you want to start with. The smoothing plane, the jack plane, also known as the workhorse of the shop, and the joiner. A smoothing plane, of course, is used, as the name would imply, to smooth out your work, but you actually typically would begin with a jack plane. A jack plane is designed to take a heavier cut. The blade has a pronounced curve to it, so you're scooping out wood. So you flatten your board, remove all the rough spots, remove any wind in the board, any warps. After you've gotten things more or less straight with the jack plane, then you come in with the smoothing plane on surfaces that need to be smooth. For example, the bottom of a drawer is normally left with the marks of the jack plane. The joiner, of course, is a longer plane for giving precise long edges. So if you're jointing, hence the name, two long boards, you use the joiner. Or if you're trying to smooth a tabletop or something relatively large, you might want the flatness offered by a long plane like a joiner. I have three other planes here to show you. Once you move beyond the beginner stage, what's the best smoothing plane is an obsession that people have had for many years. The ECE plane is, in my opinion, the best performing new smoothing plane you can buy outside of specialty, extremely expensive planes. The adjustment mechanism is a little finicky, and I don't really recommend this plane as your first smoothing plane. And I still recommend, even after you've become a more advanced woodworker, that you keep a Bailey style plane for your rough work. But then when you want that final polished surface, there's nothing, in my mind, better than this ECE plane for achieving that. Like I said, outside of a very expensive infill plane. But you said that ECE plane has an adjustable mouth and a lignum sole, so you can set a very fine shaving with this, and it just glides over the work, and it'll take just a paper thin shaving. Now, since I mentioned more expensive options, this is a Norris, top of the line Norris smoothing plane, their gunmetal smoothing plane, and this is the last word. There really has never been a better smoothing plane made than this, but it's overkill really. For most people, this plane is all you need, and it's relatively modestly priced, whereas this plane is quite an expensive plane. I also have here a wooden jack plane, because this is my personal jack plane. And while the iron jack plane does a perfectly acceptable job, if you're using it very much, the friction and the weight of it become tiring. I find the wooden jack plane far more effective. I mean, it does the same thing, don't get me wrong, but it glides over the work because there's a lot less friction on waxed wood touching wood, and you can get a lot more work done with it before you're tired. So, well, again, it's trickier to adjust, requires some finesse. After you've become a more advanced woodworker, I think you might want to consider a wooden jack plane. Either a vintage one like this, or ECE also sells some very nice modern wooden jack planes. In short, once you make that transition from power tools to hand tools, you're going to want to have a smoothing plane, a jack plane, and a joiner. And from there, you may fill your house with planes if you become like me. Thank you.